What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Kentucky Wildcats are up next. Kentucky coming off a 7-6 year last year in 2023. So about where everybody really expected this Kentucky team to be at, around 6, 7, 8 wins, something like that, maybe even 9 wins as well. But my thoughts on this team for Kentucky for 2024, I think they have a chance to be pretty good, but they're going to be right there around 6, 7, 8 wins once again this year, because this is one of the most consistent teams in the program in the SEC, and they are pretty much really, about where they expected to be. They're really about where they could be, like 6, 7, 8 wins, somewhere in that range. The offense should be pretty good, and the defense should be pretty solid as well. So this will be a decent Kentucky team. They also added a ton of pieces in the transfer portal, so I think Kentucky has a chance to be pretty decent this year. So let's now get to the schedule here for Kentucky for 2024. This is the schedule here for Kentucky. Again, they were 7-6 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Wildcats for 2024. They will start things off with Southern Miss here on August 31st. Should be an easy win here for Kentucky. No real problems in this one. I don't really think they score 40 points, though, in this game. Southern Miss is a group of 5 team that really has played Kentucky in the past. One year, Southern Miss actually beat Kentucky, when Kentucky was not really that good over the years, but I think Kentucky will take care of business. They probably should score like maybe over 20 points. So I got Kentucky starting out 1-0 pretty easily, and then after that they open up SEC play here rather early here in week number 2. They will play South Carolina at home here on September 7th, a South Carolina team that I think is going to have a really good defense. The offense does have some question marks. Kentucky does have the home field advantage in this one. We've seen some pretty good matchups in the past here between Kentucky and South Carolina. It seems like when Kentucky plays South Carolina at home, this game's in the early part of the season, but it seems like when they play on the road at South Carolina, it's usually in the month of November. So this is going to be once again a very competitive game, but Kentucky does have the home field advantage. That might be the difference in this one. I think Kentucky also is the better team here, so I'm going to go with Kentucky here to knock off South Carolina. So I got Kentucky starting out 2-0, and then they play a big-time game at home against Georgia here on September 14th. Obviously, this game was not really that close last year. We saw that Kentucky was not really on the level of Georgia last year, not even close. I think Georgia is going to be once again a pretty talented team. A lot of experience coming back here for the Bulldogs. Kentucky just still not on that level of Georgia like they used to be and everything. I think Kentucky probably will be more competitive a little bit against Georgia, probably for a few minutes. I don't think the game's going to be like similar to last year. It's not like a blowout or anything like that, but I think Georgia definitely is the better team here, so I think they give Kentucky their first loss of the season. So I got Georgia winning that game, and again giving Kentucky their first loss of the season, but then Kentucky takes care of business against Ohio. Really good team, though, in Ohio. I don't really expect an easy one here for Kentucky, but they definitely should be able to take care of business either way. So I got Kentucky now improving to 3-1 here on the season. Next game will be on the road here at Ole Miss on September 28th. A very talented Ole Miss team. Kentucky is going to try to want to run the football in this one to keep that explosive offense of Ole Miss off the field for as long as possible. But the defense for the Rebels might be a little bit better this year. This is a team that also added a lot of pieces in the transfer portal. Both of these teams I think are pretty even. Both of these teams added a ton of pieces in the transfer portal. You got Brock Vandergrift for Kentucky at quarterback and everything. Forgot to mention him. I think he's going to be pretty solid for Kentucky this year, but Ole Miss is definitely clearly the better team here. I think they're the more talented team as well. Plus, they're playing on the road here in Oxford, a very tough place to play. I'm going to go with Ole Miss here. I think it probably could be a shootout here between these two teams. I'm going to go with the Rebels here. I do like the Rebels in a shootout here in this one. So I got Ole Miss giving Kentucky their second loss here of the season, so that puts their record now at 3-2. Kentucky gets a bye week here before playing Vanderbilt at home on October 12th. You kind of rather have the bye week before going on the road to play Florida the next week, but they get a bye week either way here against Vanderbilt before playing them. I think Kentucky will win this game pretty easily. Don't really expect Vanderbilt to be all that great this year. I know the Condors beat Kentucky a couple years ago in Lexington, but I don't really think that's going to happen this time. I think Kentucky beats Vanderbilt pretty easily, and I think that puts their record now here at 4-2. Next game is on the road at Florida on October 19th. I just talked about this one, just saying that Kentucky probably deserves a bye week before playing on the road here at Florida. I mean, obviously it's a very tough place to play at the Swamp, but I think Kentucky will be ready for this one. It's obviously a game that really has gone back and forth now over the years, but it seems like Kentucky has really caught up to Florida now these days. Florida used to dominate the series, but, Kentucky has really caught up to them now. I think Kentucky going into this game is going to be very competitive. I think this game is a dogfight here, but it's obviously a revenge game here for the Gators, and I've already done my Florida prediction video, I believe like a couple weeks ago, and I did choose the Gators to win this game just because of the home field advantage. It's kind of hard to go against Florida when they're playing at home, so I'm going to go with the Gators here. I think they get revenge on Kentucky from last year's game, but I think it's going to be a really competitive game. It's going to be a low-scoring type game and also a really competitive dogfight of a game as well. So that puts Kentucky's record now at 4-3. Next game will be at home against Auburn on October 26th. An Auburn team that should be definitely improved this year heading into their second year with Hugh Freeze. I think this is going to be a really good Auburn offense. I think Kentucky probably going to waste the clock down a little bit here in this one to keep that really good offense of Auburn's off the field for as long as possible. Maybe just like the Ole Miss game, and this time Kentucky does have the home field advantage in this one. I think that does favor the Cats just a little bit here. I think both of these rosters are pretty even in my opinion, but I think Kentucky playing at home, they're definitely, not like the more talented team and everything. I think both of these teams are pretty even, but I think Kentucky does win it here just because of the home field advantage. I'm going to go with Kentucky here to knock off Auburn here on October 26th, so that puts their record now at 5-3. And then they play on the road here at Tennessee on November 2nd. Obviously a rivalry game that's been really close now for the last few years, but Tennessee actually dominated Kentucky a couple years ago in Knoxville. I don't really think it's going to be similar to that game a couple years ago. I think Kentucky definitely will be ready for this one. I mean, it's obviously a rivalry game. Anything can happen here, but Tennessee is playing at home in this one. This is a very tough place to play at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee, a really explosive offense, and I think Kentucky's going to try to run the football in this game as well, similar to the Auburn and Ole Miss games, but it won't be enough. I think Tennessee beats Kentucky here. It's a close game. I'm going to go with the Volunteers here to give Kentucky their fourth loss here of the season, and then Kentucky will take care of business against Murray State. They actually get a bye week here before playing Murray State, which I think it's a really weird spot for a bye week. You rather have it, right before the Texas game there on the road on November 23rd, and that's their next game here. They'll play on the road here at Texas on November 23rd. Tough place to play. Texas definitely is a more talented team than Kentucky is. I really don't see this game being all that close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I don't really see this game being all that close. I think Kentucky is just really not on the level of, talent-wise against Texas and everything. So with that being said, I think Texas definitely will win this game fairly easily. Like I said, I don't think it's a blowout, but I'm going to go with the Longhorns here to give Kentucky their fifth loss here of the season. So that puts Kentucky's record now at 6-5, and then the final game of the season is at home against Louisville on November 30th. You look at this matchup, Kentucky has beaten the Cardinals now for 5 years in a row. The game was really close last year. Louisville definitely was the more talented team and everything, but Kentucky won this game by 7 points. This is obviously a rivalry game. Anything can happen here in the Governor's Cup, but, going into this game, I think Kentucky definitely is the more talented team here. I think both of these teams are pretty even. Both of these teams have added a lot of pieces in the transfer portal. Two of these, teams have two transfer quarterbacks going at it. You got Tyler Shuck of Louisville, and then you got Kentucky with, Brock Vandergriff and everything. So this will be a really good game. It's probably going to be a low-scoring type game, but, Kentucky is playing at home in this one. Of course, it's a rivalry game. It's a very tough one to call, but I've already done my Louisville prediction, and I did choose Kentucky to win this game for the sixth consecutive year in a row. So I'm going to go with the Wildcats here to knock off the Cardinals here in the Governor's Cup in the last game of the regular season. So I think Kentucky beats Louisville now for the sixth year in a row. And again, I got Kentucky winning their final game here of the regular season. So my official prediction here for Kentucky for 2024 is 7-5. So I think Kentucky definitely will be right there around 6, 7, 8 wins, somewhere in that range. it would not really shock me if this Kentucky team probably goes 8-4. What if they were somehow able to win one of those road games? Let's say, for example, what if they beat Florida? That puts them right there about 8-4. I don't really think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really impossible for Kentucky to go 9-3, and especially 10-2. They do have a very tough schedule this year. You got Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, and Ole Miss. Those are very tough games there. You got 3 of them. You got Georgia at home. You got Tennessee and Texas, and then Ole Miss all on the road. Yeah, this is a very tough schedule for Kentucky, but I do expect them to still go to a bowl game and get to 7-5 here for 2024. So that's my prediction here for the Kentucky Wildcats for 2024. So let me guys know what you think about this Kentucky team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.